everybody. This is the City of Franklin Capital Investment Committee meeting for July the 23rd of 2015. And because we do not currently have a quorum, I would like for staff to review our progress reports on, let's start with item 14, transportation project status.
All right, I'll give a highlight of a few, and always, if you have any questions, please let me know about specific projects. Hillsborough Road, we've recently sent that information into TDOT to get notice to proceed for construction. So we've gotten right-of-way certification, and we're waiting on notice to proceed for construction. As soon as we get that, we'll get it out to advertise. So we're still trying to move forward with that, and as quickly as TDOT will let us. Carruthers Parkway, they've actually got the handrails up on the bridge now, so the bridge is starting to take shape and looks quite a bit different than what anybody has seen it in the past. So we're still moving towards middle of September opening right now. So Century Court Beasley Drive connector, we finally were able to bid that project. Of course, we're still waiting for
I noticed
AT&T.
they've closed off the cut through. There's like dumpsters there now. Like
Yeah, I think the local businesses did that.
Yeah.
Middle Tennessee Electric has performed their relocations. We're still waiting on AT&T. We're in that position a lot. So
And they have started slowly, but they
well, they said they've started. I drove past and it didn't look like a whole lot of work's been done, but it has been bid. As soon as the utilities are out of the way, we've got a contractor on board. We're ready to go.
So the bid came out about
We actually
50,000 less than what the estimate was?
Yes.
Yes.
Good.
We also opened bids for sidewalk along multi-use trail, actually not sidewalk, multi-use trail along 96 West. So we've opened that bid, and as soon as all the easement negotiations are done, we should be able to start that one as well. Columbia Avenue, we have received 16 responses to our request for qualification, so interested firms for design and environmental. We're currently reviewing those, and hopefully we'll have a recommendation for you here shortly. And as soon as TDOT gives us the notice to proceed, after they receive our contract, which has been signed and sent to them, we should get a notice to proceed for preliminary engineering and NEPA, so we can actually start work on that finally. Not physical earth moving, but the initial stages of design. Let's see.
Yeah, we were just,
That's really all, I guess, that I'll highlight on that, unless anybody has any questions for transportation.
I want my sign.
That's not on the list. No, I'm just kidding with you. I believe when we brought that forward was in April. The last decision for that was we were going to wait until school was back in.
that's right.
And
Oh, I wasn't here. My bad.
okay, we were going to do traffic counts as soon as school's back in to see exactly what times to place the sign.
Okay.
And make sure we get it right the first time so we're not constantly changing it.
Thank you.
So it is on the radar.
The Mac Hatcher right-hand turn onto Liberty. Bev.
Liberty. Remember, we talked about doing a survey.
Remember the no right on red?
Yeah. So where are we with that? I'm sorry.
Wait until school gets back in.
Oh, yeah,
We're gonna do it probably
yeah.
mid-September.
I just heard you say that. I'm sorry.
Early to mid-September.
Yeah.
We should have something for you back. I believe
Right.
the recommendation was to have something for you back at this committee in September.
Okay. Yeah, because we thought you can't do that until school
Okay,
starts.
well, let's,
The other thing, I had a question real quick.
oh, in
I
transportation.
might have missed it, sorry. Wait. The McEwen Phase 4 design, do we have anything going on with that?
The designer is currently working. Actually have a meeting scheduled, I believe, next week to meet, second meeting with the designer. We've already had a kickoff meeting, and so they are actively working on the design.
Right. Now, did that group get a hold of you with their, the residents we met with? Did they get a hold of you?
Yes, and I actually sent the residence house, I believe, that we met at, I sent them back several exhibits with some rough calculations on there showing what the possible disturbances will be. So I did get back with those
Okay,
residents.
good. That's all I need to know. Thanks.
Okay, well, since we've got a quorum now, let's go ahead and
Yep, right here.
proceed through our regular agenda. The first item is the approval of minutes from June 25th, 2015 committee meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, I've had a proper motion. Any discussion?
Wasn't here.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Item passes unanimously. Item 2, 15-0634, draft City of Franklin contract 2015-0189, proposal for environmental assessment Bicentennial Park.
This, this is a proposal to engage Barge Wagner, Sumner and Cannon with a contract to do the environmental assessment for the Bicentennial Park. It also includes the Worley property. It's something that we and the county have been looking at, is trying to get something taken care of, so this would be a first step.
And this would include the former Worley Auto Junkyard,
Yes,
and that's still private property or city property?
it is private property, and in fact, that's one reason we want to include it, is we want to find out what is going to be required to take care of that, any environmental issues there before the city or the county decides to go forward with acquiring.
Kill that duck.
Good thing I don't have Franklin with me. Ducks. Get myself a duck.
Okay. That just reminds me.
I have some questions.
Okay.
First of all, I noticed it said this was a part of TDEC Brownfield program. What have been our plans for this all along? You know, I heard things like, if we don't do anything to it, then we can just leave it the way it is, or if we get started on doing something to it, then we have to go on and do everything that needs to be done. And so what are we talking about, a number on this? And well, first of all, if we don't do anything, is it possible just to kind of, you know, what we've always heard, just cover it over the way it is?
Well, right now, it is in the state that it is. You really have three sites. You have where the boot factory is, the structure. Then you have adjacent where the trail system has been placed in, to where the environmental that has been placed on that property is where the trail system is. So we have not touched the rest fully as what it would be encapsulated in this particular project. And then the Worley property. We approached the state. There's two things. I think there's two things. Is last year the city engaged to submit a grant to the EPA to look at a brownfield to submit for cleanup and that type of thing. We did not receive that. So in saying that, part of the master plan for that property is, it's always been to where it would be open space, but it also would be allowed, because it's in floodway, that we cannot park, we can't do playgrounds, you can't do anything else except for the trail system on there because of what it was. Because we have found small amounts of traces of things, but we don't truly understand what is there, especially even on the Worley property that is private. So in order to, whether we do parking, I think what the environmental testing will do will tell us, what we're hoping that it would tell us, that we could cap the property so that you could do other things besides.
Yeah.
We understand that nothing can be built, but the opportunity to be able to do event parking, the carnival from Main Street, things such as that, we can't do that right now on that vacant piece of property.
Unless it's capped.
Unless something takes place, right? And it might come back that it's clear,
And we
which would be
wouldn't have to.
fantastic, and then we can move forward the way we need to either way. But the environmental has to be done just so we know what's there.
What's the schedule for that?
That's what this is.
Is that
It's within the scope.
scope? So it would be within this scope totally, what you're talking about? Okay.
4-month span, once we have a contract
I
in
didn't
place,
see-
and
I
then
didn't see
work with William Banks, who worked on the engineering for Third Avenue Extension, would be our liaison with our engineering department to
Oh.
help with this full scope of the plan.
Okay.
We as a city, the other part of that is it talks about with the TDEC's Environmental Brownfield Program, they have, within their mitigation area, they have a voluntary program to where cities can be fined and private entities can be fined by TDEC if there is cleanup to be done and they do not take care of it. This is a proactive stance. This was actually, when we brought them in and we entered into that over a year ago, they suggested, let's do environmental, let's see what you have, then we'll work with you to mitigate those issues. Whether you can do parking through some type of grid system, whether you can put a playground in, whether you can do anything on the property. But right now, we just don't know.
Okay, just to go back to one thing that you said that if we start this, then it's possible that the city would be fined.
No, if you're in the voluntary program, you will not be. And that was the whole reason we entered into that program. Cities can be fined if you do not clean up. This puts us on a pathway to where if there is something, then TDEC is working with the city to put a schedule together, put a budget together, and then work through that program. We'll have to do something. We can't just idly sit by. But it puts us on a time frame to let's get started.
So we don't have any idea, though,
No, you
the
have to
cost
do
of
that.
any of
No,
this?
ma'am, not until we know what's there. It might not, there might be a large cost, there might not be any cost, and there might be some type of cost. We just don't know until we do the environmental.
Well, let me ask you, since we've owned this for how long? What, 15 years or more?
Yes, ma'am, since
Since
90, well, we did the grant, they did the original grand opening in 99.
Yeah.
But we've obtained, we did not own the Worley Track property, the former Worley, which where the trail system is. We did not own that until after, in the 2000. It was during Jay Johnson's time period.
So,
And we do not own the Worley property at that time.
but, so they haven't come to us before now saying we needed to?
We haven't disturbed the land.
Yeah, when you did.
Oh, okay, so wait, it's more, I was thinking that if you just capped it, but the thing is, though, if we disturb the land, then we have to get into this. So if we didn't disturb the land?
Well, I think in order to actually use the property at all.
So when you did your trail project, we did extensive testing to be able to
Uh-huh.
put that trail in there.
Right.
The testing indicated there was no hazardous material found, although all the material hauled off had to go to a certain type of
Right.
landfill. And so with that, TDEC concurred with it, and we had to record certain deed restrictions against that property.
Mhm.
Those deed restrictions basically state that if we want to do future activities on the site, like playgrounds, parking, festivals, etc., we have to go back to TDEC and get their approval on it. And so that's what Lisa's trying to figure out is, what is that next step? What can we do with this project? And we need to do the testing to be able to have that
Okay,
conversation.
So technically, if we do the testing, will that be disturbing the property?
No, you're allowed to go
No.
out there and do this type of
Yeah,
testing.
that's part of the process.
But again, if we didn't disturb it, or if we don't disturb it, then we are not liable for anything.
You're correct.
Is that right?
As long as we're in the mitigation program, but the mitigation program says that we're being proactive. So if we say that we don't want to disturb it and something does happen, yes, we can be liable if there is something there.
If we say we don't want to disturb it?
We're in a contract with TDEC now through their mitigation program to say that we're going to look at this from an environmental standpoint. This is the steps to take. TDEC has the authority to fine government entities if there is something there. But as long as we're saying voluntarily, we think, we may know, we don't, but we don't know until we do the environmental, they're saying they'll work with us. They will not fine us as long as we're underneath their umbrella, their scope. So it's really a partnership, I think, to understand what is there. And then as a board and as a city, we have to decide, well, what do we truly want to do with this? We're not looking to put an asphalt parking on it, but we do look to where, when there are special events, it would be nice to be able to park cars. It'd be nice to be able to not just on the bicentennial where the structure is, to be able to expand that scope, or put, as like Main Street says, the carnival would be there. So there's a lot of different things you could do on this property, but right now, we just do not do anything with
Right.
it. Right now, it's just sitting vacant.
Well, I understand that, but I'm still concerned about, it sounds to me, and again, I may be paraphrasing, that if we did not disturb it, then we would not have any liability. Whether we,
Yes, no. If we do not disturb it, we are saying that we're going to wait until something happens, because we do know that there was former junkyard there.
exactly,
And we do know that their thing might be within the soil.
right.
So we can be fined if something comes back, whether if it leaks in the Harpeth, something comes up with a human, anything from that type of interaction.
TDEC and the EPA would still expect the property owner to participate in any kind of cleanup in the future. If God forbid a barrel of nuclear waste came to the surface
Yeah.
and leaked into the river, you would still be the property owner, so you would still have to help address
But now,
that.
we are only a property owner of what? So far, we have
We are-
checked
we-
about the trail that we are property owner
We are
on.
property owner of where the trail is, and we're
Okay.
property owner of where the structure is. The Worley property is directly behind the old jail where the junkyard was.
Mhm.
That is still privately owned, yes, ma'am.
So.
But we are requesting to let's do environmental, because whatever is on that is adjacent to ours.
Exactly,
And-
but once we start looking at this, then will the owner of the Worley property be?
That's one of the,
See, I just kind of,
At
I'm
the
kind of
at
concerned
the-
about this like opening up a can of worms.
At the present time, and until or unless the city and/or the county go in and take that property, the owners of the Worthing property will be
It's
responsible for
Worthing,
it.
it's not
Worley.
Worley.
Worthing,
Worley,
how you
it's
pronounce it.
It's
W-O-R-L.
Worthing,
Yeah,
well,
Worthing.
wasn't it? Yeah, it was
But anyway,
Worthing.
they will be responsible at the present time, from what I understand. Nobody can even locate any of those owners. And that's what we have been in discussion with the county about is the city taking the property through a tax sale. So, that's
But if we
kind of where
take
we are.
it, then we're going to be responsible for the money.
Then we would be responsible for it, and the effort is to go forward and do something, or at least have something done eventually anyway with that property to take it out of the fact that it's quite an eyesore. It's in downtown Franklin. Something needs to be done with it. So that's-
But couldn't it be extremely expensive? You know, I hear about
it can be.
brownfields, other
it can
places that
be,
turn out to be.
And that's the
hugely
reason we're
expensive.
looking at trying to find out what's there, what the cost would be, and then we go after grants to get help to do anything if it is something that's expensive, especially. So,
And this would not extend into the river, it would be to the top of bank in to the
Correct.
property. but
Correct.
not in
correct.
river.
At this, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just, as I say, I just don't want the city to incur a lot of liability. Whenever at this point, we actually don't have any liability?
we
We do have
do.
some.
we-
Yes.
because I'm sorry.
The liabilities, we don't think we have, it's a great liability because we have done testing, and what that testing showed is it's nothing that we've not been able to find anything that is going to be a problem. However, you got to keep in mind when you do testing, you do spot testing. So there could be something out there, and that and EPA, TDEC recognizes that. So we still have liability, even though they think we have that the way it is right now, we're okay and should be okay. They did not find they found a little arsenic, I think it was. So, but anyway, that's kind of where we are.
But-
But there's liabilities. We have liabilities on every piece of property we own to some extent.
But
So
see, we don't own the part that is the most questionable at this time, could I say?
well, there is
Right? Am I
less
right?
known about it, but as far as questionable, I don't know, because it was used more recently, which supposedly they were supposed to take care of at the time they were in use of it, but you
But
know,
this
who knows?
went back a long time. Turner had
Right.
this a long, long time ago.
Right.
So really, the part that we don't own at the present time is the most problematic, I think.
Well, it
Certainly.
extended out where the property, where the trail system is now.
Mm-hmm.
All of that extended out. That was all of their property, and we didn't obtain it till in the 2000s, and I would have to go back, but we can
Mm-hmm.
find that for you. So, with saying that, we know what the trail system is, but we have no idea. I mean, it was a junkyard, so they had it throughout that entire area. We're just trying to be proactive. Let's understand what we have, because this is one of the areas we've done a lot of studies on through the planning. The Heritage Foundation is moving in. There's with the Third Avenue extension. This will be part of it, a part of a park. And so if we can utilize any and all of the space, we believe that it'd be better, no matter what in the end result,
No matter what
it
it
would
costs?
be.
I mean,
Well,
that's
it's-
my point. I mean, that's my concern.
Well,
No matter what it costs?
Well, no, we're not saying, we don't know. And that's where we're at today, is I don't know what the cost will be.
Right, right.
It may not be we know that we're going to have to do some cleanup, you know, just from just the property itself to make it usable. But it's a question mark out there that we can't move forward with anything until it's answered.
So the
And so this
results of-
would be the first, I'm sorry, Alderman, this would be the first step,
The
Chairman.
results of these tests will give us options. on
It
what
would give
to
us
do with this
options.
in the future. Okay. Do we have any more discussion?
Well, as I say, though, I'm very, very concerned about the city taking on the responsibility for cleaning this up. If it needs to be cleaned up. Hopefully, it does not.
Absolutely.
Hopefully, it does not. But, as I say, I don't even remember, and we've done so many things. I don't remember whenever we entered into the brownfield program with TDEC.
It was brought forth before.
That's to say, I just don't
But
recall it.
we're
but-
happy to send that back out to you to go
But
back
again,
through.
as I say, my concern is just that at the present time, we do not own it, and so I don't think we're financially responsible for it. And so I'm concerned about, I'm just concerned about that, because I know in other situations that has been extremely expensive.
But also, wouldn't this give us more information if we decide to acquire this in the future?
Absolutely.
Because
Well, it would, but,
because if we were doing due diligence, wouldn't we do this anyway on that property? before
well, we
accept
might just not acquire it, think about that.
I just think with everything that's coming up around it, whether it's Bicentennial Park and the use of the public there, you mentioned the Heritage Foundation, we've got to be proactive and be safe for people who venture off into whatever, whether it's our property or not, to know what's going on.
Okay. Any more discussion?
Not our
Do I have a
property now.
motion?
No.
Do we need to move it to the full board?
Yeah, it's good.
I make a motion, we move this to the full board.
Second,
Okay, we had proper motion and second. Any more discussion?
this is going to a work session,
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
All right.
yes, absolutely.
because it needs to
Thank
be
you.
talked about at the work session. Okay, I'm good with that.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Item passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Item number 3, 15-0649, consideration of amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2013-0182 with Neil Schaefer, Inc. for the Figures Drive Area Drainage Improvements Projects for a not-to-exceed cost increase of $125,000.
If you'll recall, we've been doing preliminary engineering, et cetera. I've done several public hearings with property owners, residents, and brought to the board some recommendations or some options. We got the recommendations back from the board of what they wanted to pursue. That's what this is for, is to get the funding to do the design work for what the recommendation from the board was for doing some improvements.
Okay, and this is not 125,000 new dollars. This is?
Yes.
On top
It
of
says
the 82?
increase.
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah,
Not to
this is
exceed.
final, this is final design.
Okay.
Yeah.
This will complete the additional design.
Yes.
See, it's a not-to-exceed increase.
Okay,
Yeah.
yes.
yeah, the increase. Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, we had proper motion made and seconded. Any more discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion passes unanimously. Next item, number 4, 15-0650, consideration of a facility encroachment agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2015-0180 for a sanitary sewer line crossing with CSX Transportation, Inc. as a part of the Spencer Creek at Franklin Road Sanitary Sewer Improvement Project.
This is just what the caption says. We have to get an encroachment permit since we are crossing CSX Railroad property. And this is the agreement that they have for such a crossing. It's really pretty non-negotiable as to what we can and can't do. We just have to follow what they do, but we have to do the agreement.
Okay.
So how long does it take to get that?
Uh,
Year,
we'll-
2? I'm being facetious here. I don't-
It's not
I
being
don't know.
facetious, really. Sometimes
Maybe
it
not.
takes longer than that, but we don't
We know
think, these type crossings typically don't take near as long as trying to get a road crossing. So we've got numerous crossings such as this, pipeline crossings.
And their CSX fees totaled $6,250 for those.
Correct.
Okay.
All right, and that's, are we increasing the, it says 36-inch sanitary sewer, are we increasing that?
No, we actually have a 36-inch line that crosses CSX Railroad right now,
Right
but it
now?
crosses at the bridge of Spencer Creek. We're actually in Spencer Creek. We're having problems with that line. We've got blockages,
Right, it
some
said that,
blockages in
blockage.
it. So we're needing to redo it, and it just seemed best to relocate, and, well, it is best to relocate. When we put that line in originally years ago, like in the 80s, we could get a permit for doing what we did. Right now, we would have a hard time getting an ARAP permit to put a line through that creek like that. So we've relocated it. It'll serve us better. It'll serve other properties better. So that's what we're doing.
I'm just curious here, what's caused all this buildup? Is it just the runoff that we've had over there in that area? Or is
We're
it
not
the
real sure.
disturbance through
It
building?
seems that we
Some
have,
building?
no, there's no buildings there.
No,
It's,
through some development that's
no,
nearby.
it appears that somehow or the other we've gotten rocks into the line and we can't get them
really?
out. And the line is
Washed
got some
into it?
pretty good flow in it, so you can't really, you're having a hard time. We can't get our sewer cleaners or our what was they trying to do?
They tried to jet vac and
Jet
TV it.
vac, you couldn't do anything with it. So
Hmm.
that's what we're
Wow.
doing.
Sometimes with construction, they get left open and rocks can wash in there.
That's what I was
There's
wondering. what
grease
the construction
blockages
is.
and things that just form in
Yeah.
sewers. It's pretty typical. We try to avoid them and clean them regularly.
All right,
Okay. Any
interesting.
more discussion?
No, it's very, just helpful to know
Do we,
that.
do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, proper motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Item passes unanimously. Item number 15-0651, consideration of a draft professional service agreement, City of Franklin 2015-0179 with Grisham Smith and partners for the Cool Springs Area Traffic Signal Timing Project in the amount of $119,860.72.
If you look on the proposal, you'll see the list of intersections
Yes.
that the signal timing is going to be checked on. The last time we had a timing study in this area was 2009. It's time to do another one. And I'm sure everyone has driven out there and realizes that we actually need to do some more work.
Indeed.
So
And the particular timing of this study is interesting because Gresham Smith's also the same consultant working with us on the adaptive signal project. As a part of that project, we would need to have updated timings in that area anyway. So we had already budgeted for this work to be done in this year's budget. And it's about $30,000 under budget.
Okay.
Okay, McEwen from Tower to Spring Creek. Okay. Where's that at? I'm not remembering that right. Spring Creek?
Tower, or Spring Creek's,
That's off of Mallory, isn't it? No, but it goes back in.
Spring
I
Creek.
can't,
one of the
that may be a
newer
misprint because it actually, there's a turn that kind of, there's a road that runs between the Toyota dealership and the Buffalo Wild Wings and comes
Is
out
that
there.
called Spring
Yeah.
Creek?
Yeah.
Oh, there's our
Yeah.
guy.
Here's our guy.
Hey, Carl. Maybe that is Spring Creek.
McEwen, that should be from Mallory Lane
Yeah.
to Carruthers Parkway.
Exactly.
Tower and Spring Creek are just one single
I know.
lane
There, yeah.
I know
from
where,
the two outer arterials. But
I know where Tower is, but Spring Creek's where?
Spring Creek is where you go into Alexander.
Okay.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
so it's
And,
past.
So it does
the
continue that
state.
name.
Oh, yeah, when you go, yeah, Mallory,
Yeah.
that's gotta be it, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So how does this all affect this study, okay, with, and I know it's not really tied to the transportation study we're doing, but at the same time, we've got so much going on here. This is just the regular timing issues that we work with on a regular basis that comes up every so many years.
Yes.
Is that
We have a
right?
traffic count program. What we do is we try to
Yeah.
count
it's the
every
same thing.
single intersection on a 3 or 4 year cycle, and then we follow that up with doing these retiming. So this, while it does impact our transportation master plan, they're really separate issues.
Yeah.
This is just something we need to do with all of our coordinated systems every 3 to 5 years to try to move traffic and manage it the best we can.
Okay, yeah, exactly. So let me ask you, Carl, I see 1 through 5, and McEwen to Town, from Tower to Spring Creek. Okay, got that. So when we get down to Carruthers, is that going to deal with that light at Carruthers, McEwen, as well?
With the what now?
Will that deal with that light at
Yes.
Carruthers and
Yeah,
McEwen?
oh, yes.
Yes.
That's
You
part
will
of it.
include that,
Mhm.
that light, because that light's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's actually a better listing in the physical scope of the project.
Where this will also help is if we have those new signals on Carruthers coming online, we'll have the base
Yeah.
model built.
Yeah.
They build a synchro model,
Mhm.
and it helps us to synchronize those timings with
Yeah,
this, especially as
because
those
so many of
businesses
them are off.
start being
Yeah.
occupied.
I know we.
A lot of that
I-
changes
Back
and-
to you, I'm sorry.
We spend a lot of time trying to tweak that to make it work as those businesses start being occupied.
Uh-huh. I have a constituent, it's called my husband. Calls me his husband. I'm like, he said, well, I'm calling my alderman. I said, okay.
Okay.
But I
Move
called
for
you about that.
approval.
Yeah, thanks.
Second, yes, and
Okay.
we'll just get this done as quickly as possible. Get this
Any
Yeah.
more discussion?
Okay.
All right, proper motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any noes?
Thanks, Carl.
Item passes unanimously.
I almost want to leave town.
Item number 6, 15-0655, consideration of draft resolution 2015-44, a resolution awarding the construction contract, City of Franklin contract number 2014-0040 for the State Road 96 West Sidewalk project to Civil Constructors LLC in the amount of $596,116.10.
Wow.
And that's exactly what it is. It's the resolution to award the construction contract. We received bids, that was that date, Jonathan?
July 8th.
July 8th, and they have been checked, seem to be appropriate. As you're well aware, Civil's done a lot of work for the city of Franklin, a good contractor, so.
Okay.
Jeez.
Any
Right.
discussion?
And that's gone to the 10-foot wide multi-use trail, I see.
Yes.
So, and it's just on that one side,
Yes.
on that one area. Is that multi-use trail the same material that we're doing on Carruthers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, this is actually concrete to match what's existing out there today.
At Carlisle Lane.
The small section we did at Carlisle Lane is a concrete multi-use trail, so this will be concrete as well to match that.
We wanted to make sure we had the same consistent look on your Mac Hatcher.
That's
It's
fine.
proposed as concrete at Carlisle Lane. It is existing concrete, so we were trying to carry that same look through that corridor.
All right.
Okay. Any more discussion? Do I have a motion?
Move for recommendation of approval, I guess.
Second.
Yes. Okay, proper motion and second. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Any
right.
noes? Item passes unanimously. Item number 7, consideration, 15-0656, consideration of draft resolution 2014-45, a resolution awarding the construction contract, City of Franklin contract number 2014-0042 for the Century Beasley Connector project to Genco Construction, Inc. in the amount of $399,250.97.
Again, this was bid same time and has been checked. Genco has done projects for the city of Franklin, and staff recommends approval with the amount of $399,250.97.
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay, proper motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Was this,
Item passes unanimously.
was that in
That's the cut-through from Beasley to...
yeah, was this in last year's budget?
This was actually
I'm sorry.
budgeted a long time
This
ago.
was-
Long
this-
time
we-
ago.
So it might have been longer than
This
that.
this was in the capital budget many years ago, so it's,
Right, but I'm just asking, this estimated project, 457,000, where's that coming from? Is that from money that was budgeted, or is it have to come out of the new?
No, it's already money that's been budgeted.
Yeah, it comes out of
That's what I
the general
thought. I
obligation
just want to make
bonds.
sure it wasn't. All right,
Okay.
sorry.
Next item. Item number 8, 15-0661, consideration of draft amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2014-0087 with Civil Infrastructure Associates for surveying services for the State Road 96 East sidewalk project in the amount of $11,950.
If you'll recall, this project started out as a sidewalk, 5 foot. It was discussed with residents in the area. They asked for the option of making it a multi-use trail. Board then approved to do a multi-use trail with, so since that's changed the scope of the project, then there's additional surveying, et cetera, has to be obtained. Of course, I think the project's also extended a little bit in scope, but so that's what this is get that additional survey information, and that's with CIA firm, and they have done work for us in the past.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have some comments about it. You know, since it changed to a multi-use trail, thinking that would be connected all the way back to that part of McCatcher, I realized after going to Chattanooga, the other thing to think about is the end of it when it goes into Pinkerton, it won't be bicycle there from there on into town, will it?
No.
So, you know, there has been some concern about the area from Eddie Lane on into town. There are a lot of homes that are very close to the street compared to the ones that are from Eddie Lane out east.
Ralston.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
And so I'm thinking if, unlike in Chattanooga where the bike trails connect with each other and you go a long way, this is it's going to be stopping as a bike trail once you get to the park anyway.
This goes all around McCatcher, goes to the park, and it connects to the trail system in the park, is what we decided when we talked about this project. So it will go into the park and connect to that trail system, which gets you to the bridge, but also based on the park's master plan, if and as we implement that plan, this trail will provide a lot of connectivity as it's extended along the Harpeth River.
So, well, let me just, since I mentioned Chattanooga, let me just say to you, I have realized, and you know, I've been saying all along, the Harpeth River is not like the Tennessee River in Chattanooga. The other thing I realized is in Chattanooga, you know, once you get kind of 5 feet away from the water itself, it's up at least 10 feet above the water and everything. I wonder how much of that is actually in the floodplain, whereas what we're looking at for the Harpeth River, much of it would be in the floodway, not just the floodplain. And so it's really an entirely different situation because, you know, whenever we were in Chattanooga and you got, you know, whenever you were looking at the multi-use trail there, you were way above the river. I mean, you weren't in the floodplain at all. And so we're looking at something entirely different here. So you're saying that well, I'm just saying to you, I think we need to investigate it in terms of something that's more like our situation here. That it is totally different to me to be something that's in the floodway as opposed to being, you know, 10 feet above and no problem with flooding occurring there. And so I just want to say we need to be thinking about that. Again, I was not thinking about having a multi-use trail there. I was really thinking about getting into the park and talking about going downtown because a lot of people who have shown a great interest in this walk along 96 East have been interested in going to the park but also going to town,
Right.
but not thinking that it would be bicycle into town. I don't think there's any way to go into town bicycle from
Well, they'd have to use
Pinkerton.
the sidewalk.
They'd have to use the sidewalk,
sidewalk.
yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Which
that
would
or-
not be, which
That
would
or
not,
the bridge across
bridge
the
there.
river in the
Bit-
park, and then,
Oh.
Road, just get on the road.
Yep.
Go on the
well, you
road all
can,
the
but people do use that bridge.
Oh, yeah.
bicycle. You have to walk your bike across the bridge, well, the sign to walk your bike across the bridge,
Yeah.
put it that way. But you can go that way, which actually gets you into a better road for bicycling, First Avenue,
yeah, yeah.
south margin versus 96, especially since you widen out to 3 lanes or stripe out to 3 lanes right in there. But so but that would be the most logical thing for a bicyclist to do. But then walkers then would come, but then you could also use the road. Bicycles are,
Yeah, absolutely.
so
absolutely.
they can come back up on the road and go in. So
And we well know that people, not bicyclers, but other people, including people pushing strollers, go on the
Been using our road.
shoulder of the road there.
well,
No.
there's when I come to work in the morning, there's
Yeah.
one gentleman that seems to refuse to walk on the sidewalk on Third Avenue. He's out in the road every morning, just about.
Okay. Well, my concern it really started off being for those locations, I guess, between Eddie Lane and Pinkerton. There, and if you look here, let's see, could you show the map,
Yeah.
the
Get up
exhibit,
on the thing.
exhibit
Exhibit
A,
A.
I think, that's the last one of these. If you, yes, it would be the exhibit A, not the, I think it's the last thing on it. Yeah. Yes, if you go down to the map part on that.
What's the purple line? I'm looking for a key and there's not one.
Purple line survey limits additional topo that we're needing.
Okay. Not the actual trail, it's the red line.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, but if you look at that, well, wait, see, that red line is not the trail, because it's going to have to be X number of feet away from the road, right?
Isn't it supposed
Is
to be
that
the
going to
trail?
be?
The red line is actually the conceptual
Yeah.
trail.
Okay.
Yeah.
It jogs there at that little access point for those last 4 houses.
Yes.
It
Yes.
goes back closer to the road.
I don't see where it goes back.
No, see, I
Right
don't
before you get
quite
in the
either.
park.
Right by
Goes back to
Berkeley's
the
house.
purple line almost, or
Yeah.
not? Where?
No,
I'm
right.
looking
Yeah,
at
yeah,
it,
the
but I
purple
don't-
line was the
I was
thing.
wondering about
The
that.
big, not the little purple lines that go on people's driveways, but the big purple line is what scared me.
Yeah, the big purple line is additional topo needed
Yeah,
to
right
tie
here.
slopes, tied.
I'm sorry,
Goes
say that
back
again.
This way?
No.
The purple line is additional survey
Oh,
necessary to tie in driveways to make sure we get enough topo. What we
There, it
typically
goes there.
do
Okay.
is ask them to get more information than what's
Sorry.
actually needed, so that we don't have to send our surveyors out 3, 4,
Sure.
5 times to do it.
Sure.
And so I typically will always direct them to go farther into the project limits than I think we need, just so that we get it all one shot. It's more expensive to mobilize them on.
It will
multiple
allow us to
occasions.
tie the project down a whole lot better, make better front yards,
Sure.
make better driveway connections.
Well, whenever you're looking at this with the little red lines right there, it looks like they wouldn't be close too much in the houses, and doesn't also look like, would that affect the trees that, Paul, you and I had talked about?
Yeah, as shown here, it does, and that's what, as we work through this final design, we're going to see what those are and understand those impacts better to be able to go back to the residents and host another public meeting.
Because, as I say, these are the places where there's the most concern, and you're close, and the purple lines really go right up to the people's houses.
As mainly for drainage and to understand how we tie our driveways back in.
But I'm just saying, people that have been interested in, or not, kind of like the idea, if they thought that the drainage is going to go right up to their house, I don't think they'd be too happy. Period.
Well, how's that?
Well, it's to make sure the drainage is coming towards the roadway.
Okay.
Just find that high point to where it's breaking, to make sure we're tying it inappropriately, we're not creating ponds.
Yeah,
in people's
that's the
yards.
big thing. We want to make sure we're not creating a pond in somebody's front yard.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Putting
You
that
don't.
elevation.
Well, but also taking up most of their front yard too. That, to me,
Yes.
that is a concern too.
Yes.
But I understand and agree
You're
with you
not.
on your comment there.
Well, what's the thing I read, I'm sorry, Ian.
No, go ahead.
I'm on the map now, but back here, it's something about still putting bike trails on the road, bike lanes on the road?
No bike lanes on the road, it's just a multi-use trail with an open ditch is what we're looking at right
Oh,
now.
no, I know what you mean. Right in the first legislation, it said there was some
saw
discussion
that.
about streetscape
Oh.
and some other stuff, and
That was at the public meeting.
that-
was
but
from the
that was-
public
Sorry.
meeting.
Well,
barely mentioned.
On this first thing, under legislation
Yes,
text, it says,
exactly.
add bike lanes to both sides of the roadway.
That was a request that came out of the residents. We decided not to pursue that after discussing it with the board. We decided to go with the 10-foot multi-use
Right.
trail.
Okay, so that's old. Okay.
That was one of the
Yes.
things that came out of the public
That-
meeting
I
and
was reading that,
streetscape.
thought
That,
was a
that
new-
never, even during the public meeting, that was not considered by most of the people that were at the public meeting, you
Mhm.
know.
All right, yeah.
But I
because
know what
that's
you're talking
not
about.
what they wanted, though, right?
Yes.
Some were,
Is that right?
yeah, some were requesting that, some were requesting streetscape elements. What we
Yeah.
decided at the end of the day was to do the multi-use trail.
Right.
It addresses your bikes, your pedestrians.
Okay.
The streetscape element was a huge change in scope, and we didn't have the budget really or the financing to be able to do those improvements. And so when we discussed this at a work session, we decided to just move forward with the 10-foot multi-use trail.
Uh-huh.
Okay, any more discussion? Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Somebody brought up the date. Second.
Okay, proper motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any noes? Item passes unanimously. Then we go to item number 9, 15-0662, consideration of a draft agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2015-0172 with Boyle Investment Company for the Carruthers Parkway and Meridian Boulevard Gillespie Drive intersection improvement projects.
This request is coming from Boyle to do some improvements at that intersection. They're requesting that we get a second left turn lane on Carruthers. And that, of course, precipitates having to do other improvements. And, excuse me, while we were there, the city wants to do whatever is needed on the Gillespie side other than just Meridian too. So this agreement has been set up to where the city will be paying for the work that is involved with taking care of Gillespie Drive. The Boyle development will be paying for the rest of the work to be done. This will be done under a contract that is taken care of by Boyle. They'll be having the design, the construction, et cetera. We'll be reimbursing the cost of the Gillespie Drive to them. So it will be a contract through them. That way it gets done
Right,
quicker,
fast, right.
and et cetera. So
We just
and
reimbursed
probably a
them for
little
us.
cheaper, but
Now, yeah, probably, yes. The other thing is, though, are they getting kind of rebates on this from their road impact fees?
for what they're going to pay for, no.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay,
No.
sounds good, I'd say.
So-
I move to recommend approval on this.
What, so that traffic island, is the whole median coming out of there?
No, just a
No.
portion.
Just a portion.
Just enough to add that second left turn lane into Meridian.
Oh, just to get around it.
And then they're reconfiguring a lane out of Meridian where it used to, where it used to be a left and a through lane. It's only going to have a single left out of Meridian because more cars turn right. And that's,
Yeah,
And
you're
they need
right.
the double right.
That's
and one of the
right.
big things for us to consider the Gillespie, and Carl's welcome to chime in. I believe if we do our improvements, this will allow us to take this signal out of split phase
It does.
Okay.
and put it on concurrent
Okay.
phasing. So that will save
That
us
would
some
be
time.
good, too.
So it'll be connected to the other ones then?
Well, it
Yeah.
just
Well, it's already
Split
connected. The
phase.
split phase is where one side goes and then the other
Then
side
the other
goes.
goes.
Yeah.
So you lose quite a bit of efficiency with split
Yeah,
phase.
So they'll both be going at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so the crosswalks are going in all those areas that I see where the black is?
Yes.
Yes.
That's it? Okay. Are they not there now? I don't remember.
I think you have on 3 legs right now.
Right.
You don't have it on that southern leg, but with this reconfiguration, we would go ahead and add it.
Yeah, because I was going to say that's really important. So, I had another question, I'm sorry. All right, so they're doing all this work on
Yes.
that?
It will be a contract that they do, and then we will
And we don't-
reimburse.
All right.
Okay, we've got
Yeah,
a proper
I guess.
motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, proper motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any noes? Item passes unanimously. Item number 10, 15-0663, consideration of a draft professional service agreement, City of Franklin contract number 2015-0186 with Civil and Environmental Consultants, Inc. for survey and design of the Harpeth River Bank Stabilization Project at the Franklin Water Reclamation Facility in the amount not to exceed $74,400.
What the situation is we're losing quite a bit of the riverbank right at our wastewater treatment plant property. It is in danger of getting to one of our major force mains. Also, we have a walkway that hangs out over the river for doing some monitoring, testing of the river that we have to do for our permit, et cetera. What this is for is to get the design efforts to do a proper stream bank restoration project. I guess that's basically it. I don't know how else to explain it, but
And we've got some pictures. If you'd like to see the pictures, I'll be glad to.
The other thing just to add is there is a 12-inch force main that's probably within 10 feet of the erosion, and as that continues to erode, we don't want to have any problems with that force main along that river, so.
Right.
Move for approval.
Second.
And we lost 2 feet in the last year from that?
It's pretty dramatic.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's quite a bit.
Is
Once
that
it
the
gets
only place
started.
along the river that's happened? Because I keep hearing about,
No, there's a lot of spots of erosion
there's
along the
other
river.
places, but this is a place
Well,
that
this is an important place, though,
threatening
isn't
our
it?
infrastructure, so
absolutely.
we've got to get something done on it.
Okay, we've got, any more discussion?
What, I'm just curious, what all is, you don't need to go into big, long detail, but in this restoration stabilization project, what actually do you do to stabilize that?
Think of what we did down
Is
in
that-
front of the water plant when we removed the dam. That's the similar
Okay.
type, because you're going to
Okay.
use
I was wondering if
natural
it
stuff.
had
to
any,
Not saying
wall-
we're going to bench back, but it'll be using the same type of stream bank restoration, natural type elements that will work into the.
And we'll do what we can to armor the slope, because we know there's pretty high
Right.
flows through there, so we'll armor the slopes.
do you guys put any trees or anything in there?
We can,
Back
yes,
there?
that'd be a part of
Do you
stream
do that?
restoration.
That will be a
We
part
do
of
that,
it.
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
Proper motion's been made and seconded. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Item passes unanimously. Item number 11, consideration of a request to deny sanitary sewer availability denial. This has two denials.
As a typo, sorry. That's my fault.
This should
Double
be one of
negative.
these
Cancel
It
it
denials.
will be fixed before
Is
the
that
weather.
a double negative?
probably not
For
intended to be, right?
2027 Wilson Pike map, tax map number 80, parcel number 45-03.
This is a request for denial. It is in, excuse me, our Mays Creek drainage basin area, which we do not have infrastructure in at this point, other than upstream of where this is, which is the breezeway, which pumps back over, and what we're trying to take care of in the future. Since it is in the drainage basin that does not have the infrastructure, the staff is recommending approval of the denial of sanitary sewer availability.
Mr. Peter Von Dries is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, Mr. Von Dries. Discussion.
I'm all for denying it by approving the denial.
Okay, so this
Second.
means that
In other words, let the county deal with them, not us.
these 10 right.
That is, by the way, what we are trying to do here. I'd prefer the city, obviously, but everything that we've run into thus far has caused several contracts to fall through because of the unavailable.
So you'll put in septic systems on larger lots for the county.
It may be one, whoever, our goal is to sell it.
Yeah.
And the majority of the interest has been developers. In the county, it's 1 acre lots. They don't have to go through that, apply the county, come back for comments to the city, back to the county, yada, yada, yada. This short circuits that path, and that's primarily the goal. We have had 1 or 2, but very few interested people in buying the entire parcel as one parcel.
Okay. My question is if this county, now this is in the urban growth,
Yes.
but it's not adjacent.
It's
It's
adjacent.
adjacent, but it's in that
adjacent, but
Maze
it's in
Creek that we
Maze
But
haven't
it's
Creek.
in
studied.
Maze Creek that
That
we
we
made the
haven't worked
arrangement of the
with. Right.
switchover. So did I read that this probably wouldn't be served until 2027?
Excuse me?
That it wouldn't be served with sewer until 2027?
Mm.
I think that's
Wh-
the address.
That's the address.
That's the. I was
Yeah,
beginning
that's-
to worry about it.
Don't
Yeah,
think we-
no,
We will be dead by then. It's okay.
Please. I don't know about
Now,
that.
now it's, but it is what, 57 acres? So
Hopefully
It
not.
could be 57 lots there. I noticed you asked for
No.
10. Is that-
Well, in the city, and somebody needs to help me here.
That would be her.
not big.
To facilitate the request, it's possible, not probable, that if you were willing to entertain some sort of a force system again, a pump or E1s or something like that, that you could get 57 1/2 acre lots,
Oh, okay.
okay?
Half acre, okay. She said 1 per acre, but here.
But it would require pumps or a drip system or something like
Yeah.
that.
But this would be the same issue that we had to make a concession for one of these adjacent to let them,
They would be pumping into the wrong
That's right.
basin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pump
yeah,
over. So
yeah,
y'all
that's
would
right.
also be for a much longer period before the other service,
Right.
but not 2027.
not 2027.
That's the address.
Okay, but you're asking for the 10 just because of why?
Pardon?
You're asking for 10? Isn't that right?
No, ma'am.
My request was for denial of services.
Oh, I understand that.
But we had to
I
put a
put the
number
10 in
on it.
there because
we
that
had-
was preliminary conversations of what I've had with one of his consultants as to what they would possibly do in the county. So I had to have a number as part of that
Or to put a
request.
number in there.
If this was to come into the city, that number would be much higher.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I restate my approval for denial. I
There you
don't know
go.
if we ever got a
No,
second.
a second, I'll second
Yes,
it.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a motion for denial and a second.
One question, though. How far away is sewer from that?
7 miles.
Well, it
Seven.
depends on how you
I
go.
saw
I
Yeah.
think
that.
If you go
I saw
back over,
7.25 miles,
yeah,
but
if
Yeah.
you go by the gravity
that
and
can't
Gravity.
be right.
serving the Maze Creek Basin,
That's
it
right.
is that long.
Yeah.
If you do, like you indicated, pump
With a pump.
back over,
Force
you're
main.
only, I don't know,
Couple
a
thousand
couple
feet.
thousand feet or so, something like
The
that.
issue with it being so long in Maze Creek is because there's no infrastructure. You actually have
Yeah.
to would build all the way down to where it ties into
That's
our
right.
existing infrastructure.
And
So-
we
so-
have been recommending against any pump over drainage divides, because you're eating up capacity in those areas that already have that sewer.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I just looked at that 7.25 and I thought, that can't be right, but
It is.
Was.
Okay, we've had a proper motion and second to deny.
all right.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, item, any noes? Item passes unanimously. Next item, thank you. Item number 11. 15-0664, consideration of a request to deny sanitary sewer availability. No, I'm on the wrong one. We just
No,
did
it's the
that.
same, no, it's another one that's the same
No,
thing.
you did,
Item
you just did
number
11.
12.
Yeah.
15-0665, consideration of a request to deny sanitary sewer availability for 4101 Clovercroft Road, map 80, parcel 44-01.
Staff is recommending against denial of this, and the difference being, this is in the drainage basin that we can serve gravity sewer. So, that's basically the main difference.
Okay.
And it's, what was, I forgot how far it is, it's
Yeah, give us some more
1,400 feet or
14, yeah,
something.
14.
1,400 feet or something like
Yeah.
that, but it is in a basin that we have sanitary sewer in.
Just a little background on it there, to be able to provide sewer, what they would be looking at is
take
come
off.
through the annexation process. They would have to take a pump station offline with a 450-foot extension, and then about 1,000 sanitary sewer, 1,000-foot sanitary sewer extension, just to get to the property line, only not to where they're actually proposing to develop. The overall parcel is adjacent to the city limits. From what I've seen from very conceptual site plans, they are looking at subdividing a small portion of that off to build a church there. I think I've articulated that correctly. And Mr. Jeff Hooper is their consultant. I'll turn it over to him, and he's here for questions that you may have.
Yeah, this is Jedediah with the church, so he was going to just tell you a little bit of history on their side, and then I'm here to answer any type of technical questions.
Yeah, we're a young church coming up on 2 years in existence, and so we love Franklin and love this particular piece of property. It's the farm I grew up working on when I lived here, and being such a young church and a smaller church, when looking at land options and the possibility of moving on there, we obviously wanted to figure out the least expensive way possible to end up on the property, and which it seems to us would be the septic route and staying in the county and those types of things, understanding that sewer in the long run is a better option, and something that we would have to revisit in the future, hopefully as an older and hopefully as a bigger church at that point. And so being a nonprofit, unlike a developer, and unable to recoup those expenses, we were essentially, most likely, if we can't do the septic thing, it'll probably put an end to the project for us, just because we're younger and financially not in a position to do those types of things. And so we appreciate your consideration.
Just from a technical standpoint, obviously 1,450 feet of sanitary sewer extension. We've got some challenges with that. We got to cross Colonial Pipeline, which I think they have either 2 or 3 pipes in the ground on the back side of the property. We've also got to do a road crossing that's in the county. We've got 2 stream crossings that we would have to cross as well to get TDEC approval. So there are challenges that are just faced with the actual construction and permitting of the sanitary sewer line as well. And I did want to point one thing out, and if we can maybe bring that up, the actual sewer availability request that we submitted, is that part of the exhibit, Paul?
I think that's the second PDF, should be. Let me open it up real quick. Yes, second PDF.
It's the one that actually shows the red block of where they're looking at
Yes.
potentially.
And it should be the 3rd page on that PDF, 4th page. It'd be the 4th. There it is. Okay, right there.
Yeah, so just back one, if you
Up
don't mind,
one.
please.
There you go.
So the actual, this is where the church is potentially looking at going, which would be a separate tract of land. If, in order to annex the piece of property there's now, if it was just this piece, that would actually be surrounded by property not inside the city. So the entire tract of land would actually, I guess, have to be rezoned. Would that be correct? Annexed?
Well, we'd have to look at, I think we'd have to have it contiguous or look at doing a different option, which I think is allowed now. We'd have to work through those issues. But
And I wanted to bring that up because
Yeah.
the actual area that the church is working with the landowner on would not be contiguous to any property that's inside the city. So
yeah, and our
It's not continuous.
it's not contiguous.
it's not.
The larger tract, the
Yeah,
entire farm
that's all
is,
county.
but
Yeah, right.
that piece is
Right.
not.
I know.
you know, we debated this at a staff level,
Can
looking
you
at the
speak a little louder?
We debated this at a staff level, looking at the pros and cons associated with it. At the end of the day, we decided that, sewer is available to this parcel if it were to develop. Our fear is as we allow these parcels to develop, you won't be able to annex them. You lose future right-of-way dedications that you may get, your road impact fees, but you still have all the impacts associated with that. In addition, our preference is not to see more septic systems go up in our UGB as part of new greenfield development that can be served, so.
Yes.
Yeah, I get that, Paul. I don't disagree with that. But this is a pretty small church, isn't it? And you're not building a very large building, and I know churches certainly can grow. But the impact of your church would be equivalent to how many houses? 4, 5, 6?
I don't know that I'm
Something like
prepared to
that.
answer that.
Well,
Yeah, we're
What-
talking about
you have any
initially
idea?
doing like an 8,000, 10,000 square foot space.
Oh, 8,000, that's small, okay.
Yeah,
We're
Uh,
about 70 members, yeah, we're a
Oh,
smaller church.
Okay, yeah, and even if you grow over time. Here's, just something I'm thinking about. And I know for a small church like yours, it'd be very difficult financially to do that. It's probably, I don't know, my wild guess would be $25,000 or something to put in septic and that kind of thing, maybe. Probably another 25,000 or more, a little bit more to do, probably about 30 or 35,000, 40,000 if I'm
Mhm.
just round, just ballpark kind of
Mhm.
ideas probably for doing that. But I'm not sure if is sewer is 1,000 feet from them? Is that
1,400,
1,400?
but they've also just told us having to go across roads and the pipeline and the stream crossings,
Oh,
which
boy.
makes it
Very
not just,
expensive, very
know.
expensive for that. So where you're located and where you're situated, what's our usual policy? What do we say if you're within how many feet of sewer we really want you to connect on? Isn't
We
it
say if you're
200,
within
300?
200 feet, you have to connect.
Okay, 200 feet, you have to connect. So this discussion tonight is, what, 1,400 about? So we're talking 1,400, which is quite a big distance from 200. What if they connect, what if you did, I don't know, board, what if they did something like built out and did their septic, and then when this whole area gets built out more, I mean, it's going to be years. I don't think Mr. Ingram's going to be selling that farm anytime soon, and even if he does, it's probably going to be in his family for a good number of years.
Mhm.
But eventually that area, and then the other part of that, on Oxford Glen, if that ever comes into, we have Caldwell Estates that's in the city, but that area called, on Oxford Glen right there next to you, that's all county. And eventually, we sort of jump over that area there and go to Caldwell Estates, which goes out to 96. So we've got some donut holes going on there.
Mhm.
Then from there on, over where you are, it's all county. And then you go down further, and then we've got city again, then we've got county again. So eventually, somehow, hopefully, that will all come together
Mhm.
at some point, since they're 1,400, I don't know, 1,400 feet away from sewer. If you had some big company coming in here doing this, yeah, probably be a lot easier. I know it's probably going to be a burden on you to do that. I'm just sort of asking, would the board feel okay about letting them do the septic? And then later, when this all gets developed out there more, and sewer comes closer to you, then you can hook on.
Right, yeah.
I mean, maybe we require you to hook on when sewer comes in so many feet from your place. 300, 400 feet, 200 feet, which is our policy,
Mhm.
and do that. Now, are we concerned about the right-of-way? Can we require some additional right-of-way or something for the future when they're doing this church that we ask them to do?
Unless they're in the city of Franklin, you have no ability to acquire
Okay.
right away without
Well,
going out and
we
doing the.
can ask them for it.
appraisal.
That's part of the deal. I mean, to help alleviate the burden of that. I mean, 1,400 feet to me sounds excessive,
I agree.
and excessive for a small church. And so I'm thinking, how do we help you and help the city at the same time? So is there something we can ask them and say, set aside certain right-of-way, so in the future, we don't have that problem coming back and saying, and can we put a stipulation in that says, at some point in time, you're required to do sewer when it gets to be so many feet from your buildings?
Again, you have no abilities to do that until they are in the city limits. You can ask that the county require them to do that, or make that a stipulation if the county so chooses, if they go
Or they can
forward.
volunteer to do it themselves.
They
Yeah.
can volunteer to do it, but the only way only way that you get that in the future to make sure it's done is you have to enter into a separate agreement with them to say that. So,
Right.
I mean, and they may be willing to do that. I just want to make sure it's not just us saying, okay, we're going to deny it, but you have to do this in the
Yeah,
future.
right.
It has
Yeah,
to be
that's right. That-
additional
I'm not looking
stuff
for
to
that.
do
I'm not
that.
looking for that. I'm looking at maybe some good faith offering on their part. Just, because after I heard this, and I read this, I thought, I agree with Paul, but I think it's excessive. And, I represent the city, I represent the people around that, and I'm thinking, yeah, we need to do the best thing for it. But at the same time, it's sort of a catch-22. I think on your part, at the same time, the city is saying, we do these things for a purpose.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and from the church's perspective, our desire is to help and serve the city any way we can, and to put you guys in the best position possible to do what you've done so well for so many years. And so we would definitely be open and agreeable to talking about how best to make it work with the long-term planning and the explosive growth that continues in Franklin.
Yeah, I think one of the things is, we don't want you to be out there for years and years and years, and that gets developed, and you're still on septic.
Right.
And then, that's a tough thing. We prefer not to have that, because there's more issues with the septic.
Sure.
And I think we're open to looking at setbacks off the roadway that could accommodate
That
some
could
future
accommodate.
right-of-way expansions for.
Which I think is really important. I really think that's important to the city.
Well, it's important to the church as well, because
Right, right,
if the city has plans to widen Clovercroft Road,
Yeah.
and we're building close to the
Mm.
property line with either parking or with the building itself, it could become challenges to the church in the future as well if you
Right.
came and took that land and took parking away from them. So it's in their best interest
Yeah,
to,
I'd like to see that
to work
out.
with the city as trying to determine what, potential right-of-way may be needed and look at that. And I think we're totally open to that. We were asked to do a site evaluation report for them, and we couldn't tell them whether they had to follow city regulations or if they had to follow county regulations. That's why we're
Yeah.
ultimately here today, is to find out whose regulations we can ultimately do, so we can tell them how they can
Yeah.
develop the church. So I think we're totally open to that. And just for discussion purposes, we actually did take a soil scientist out to the property as well, and spent probably about 4 hours just going around the property. And, we probably drilled 15, 18 holes in the ground, and the soils are, subject to approval. We hadn't mapped it. It would have to be mapped to go on the septic system. And there's obviously a lot of stringent criteria that the county puts on you if you're going to
Yep.
develop a church on a septic tank. We've had those conversations with the county as well. So we feel confident we could actually build it in the county.
I noticed it said the request was for 88 FSUs. Is that, Would that be-
That's based on what information we have as far as the meter size, water meter size.
No, we talked
so
about.
this would be for the same as for 88 houses?
That's,
Those are preliminary numbers estimated, and I
That
don't know
wouldn't
that
be-
we're at the final level to determine what that meter size is going to be. But we worked with the applicant to come up with that number, and it'll be further evaluated as they move forward with the building design.
Because when we had the other church recently, they were
Oak
only
Valley.
asking for a small.
They had a large meter already to begin with, and we're increasing the meter, so they had a certain number of SFUEs to begin with, and it was a small increase, was what it was.
But we,
But keep in mind, that increase based on that meter upsize for that particular project was for water only. Sewer would have been the total number, whatever size that meter was going to ultimately be. And I don't remember what that was, because it was more than yesterday, so.
Well, my stance is to support the denial just because of so many different things. And again, we all know eventually the urban growth boundary is going to be realized, and that Clovercroft's probably going to end up being city within my lifetime. And you're not placing a high demand on this property. You're not putting rooftops in. And basically, you're not putting a lot of stress on it from that situation. Probably have Sunday, Wednesday type traffic. And I know the price point for where you're starting and what you're looking at now is undoable. And I'll support the denial.
I got a question too. Do you plan to do any s- any daycare or anything out of the church at all? I'm not talking mom's morning out, that's sort
Right,
of
no.
not a
there's no
big
plans
deal.
for that.
Okay.
There's no plans for that.
No, like little
Church.
church school or any church like drop off kind of, the mother's morning out is not an issue. Every
Right.
church sort of does that sometimes, but it's not a big deal. Okay.
I had a question. Is this denial project specific, or is it for this parcel only?
It's for the parcel.
So, let's say if
Let's do it.
something happened and y'all decided to locate somewhere else, this approval then would carry.
Good question.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Why don't we,
That is correct.
would Brandy be
For-
willing to? read
Sure,
it?
I'll amend
Well,
that to
we
be
would- we would-
specific then.
Well, let me sort of back up a second. It would really depend on what the county says at that point. Should they go away, somebody else come in and want to do something different, I would say the county would probably say they have to come back again. But as far as we're concerned at this point, it's for the parcel.
Okay. And we talked about this is a bigger parcel, and just a portion of this was gonna be for the church.
That's correct.
So the parcel, is this new parcel that was in red, or the existing parcel?
Well, you're listing as a bigger parcel because it hasn't been split up yet.
Yeah, the smaller parcel does not exist.
So
Okay.
that's the
So
reason
you're
it's
granting it
listed.
to the larger parcel
Okay.
at this time.
That makes me nervous.
Well, I can understand that, but again, once it's split up, it kind of goes back to that one piece of parcel or the smaller parcel, as far as the way the county will be looking at it.
And we know that for sure, that the county.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
they're very, I mean, otherwise they'd be doing a septic tank for the whole bigger parcel, and they're not. They're doing something that will fit their project only. So, once it gets back to that point, it's more project specific.
The county would not serve us with sewer either until they got some notification from the city that we could not be serviced or would not be serviced by the city.
Okay, good. And I commend staff for enforcing what our current policy is. And that's what you brought to us. Sometimes these things, may not be what's best for the city and the applicant, but I think you need to keep doing that. You enforce what the ordinance is.
Well, we look at it as an area and not a specific project, so.
Yeah, specific project. I thought I'll second Brandy's, if it's project specific, I'll second that. The other thing is, were that red boxes up there, I thought originally you'd looked at doing it closer down to the houses.
The final location is not specifically determined.
Okay.
Again, we were just merely trying to figure out where or whose jurisdiction we were going to have to fall under,
Okay.
just so we could
And
develop.
so
it.
then you'll,
But the idea is somewhere between there and
the back end of those houses.
the back end of those
Yeah.
houses. That's
I
correct.
thought was more appropriate in that area, but, okay.
There's
Okay,
topography. You can see the TVA easement line that runs through there. So
Oh, yeah.
there's
Seems sort of like,
there's challenges with it as well.
Alderman Blanton
Yes, sir.
has modified her approval to say that this should be project specific.
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
And do you
I
agree
second it.
to
Yes,
second it?
I
on
do.
that? Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor to deny sewer to this parcel, then say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Item passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item. Let's see, we've already done, do
Transportation.
we have a meeting in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
We do.
No, yeah.
5:30.
Is it
No, no,
5:30?
it's 5, isn't it?
It's,
5 o'clock.
Mr. Chairman, if you, we probably need to just go on and defer the item 13
Sure.
anyway. And hold off on discussion, any more discussion. That's a holdover from what we talked about
Right,
You're
before.
right.
right.
And it's,
We're gonna need a little more time on that.
yeah, you are.
And there's
Probably.
nothing,
Is there anything in?
Do we have any-
water and sewer? I didn't think so.
No.
It's generally
Okay.
just if you have any questions on status report.
I don't-
We'll take
Okay.
them all at the same time.
yeah, anything else on water or stormwater projects?
No, I think so.
All right, then do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Thank you very much.
all right.